Greetings from Sabil, greetings from Jerusalem, dear friends. Thank you for joining us in another Kumi session, one of the different weekly sessions that Sabil holds. Today is the 39th day since the war has started, since October 7th. Gaza is still under attack. I just read a report that 24 hospitals out of 39 hospitals have stopped operating in Gaza, although the number of the people who are injured and the casualties continues to increase. We appreciate the solidarity of all of our friends, and we appreciate all the prayers and all of the advocacy that is taking place to help us to put an end to this war and to the violence. For us Palestinians, for 75 years since Nakba, it has been an ongoing catastrophe, from one catastrophe to another, from one massacre to another. Literally, there wasn't even a single day of peace. We have to cross checkpoints, face Israeli intimidations, defend our homes from being confiscated. Farmers, it's a challenge to pick their olives. Every part of our day is a battle. And the most difficult battles are done defending Palestinian children. Over 4,000 Palestinian children have already been killed in the Israeli airstrikes since October 7th. We're pleased to have one of our Kumi partners, one of our Sabil partners, Defense of Children International, with us. On behalf of everyone and on Sabil, we'd like to welcome Mr. Ayed Abu Khteish, who has just arrived to Brussels. I believe not for vacations, you're there for advocacy and work. Mr. Ayed, thank you for joining us. So, alhamdulillah, ala salamtak into Brussels. You may please unmute yourself. I've made you a co-host now, so you can unmute or mute yourself as you wish. Alhamdulillah, salame. Thank you for thank you for being with us, Ayed. And it's the tradition at Kumi, we ask our presenters to briefly introduce themselves. So who is Ayed Abu Khteish?
Okay. My name is Ayed Abu Khteish. I am the Accountability Program Director at Defense for Children International. Accountability Program consists of 3 main units, which are the Monitoring and Documentation Unit, where we document the violations against Palestinian children's rights, regardless of the perpetrator, whether it's the Israeli authorities or the Palestinian Authority. As a small organization, we do not have the capacity to document all child right violations, so we concentrate on the right to life, right to liberty, and right to education, adequate standard of living, and right to health. In addition to documenting the child right violations, we are also defending Palestinian children before the Israeli military court system. So every year, we represent 1/3 of Palestinian children who appear before the Israeli military legal system. So the information that we get from the Monitoring and Documentation Unit and the Legal Defense Unit, we use it in our advocacy in order to expose the Israeli violations against Palestinian children's rights. So in addition to documenting and defending and advocating for Palestinian children's rights in relation to the Israeli violations, we also work on the Palestinian level, but with the Palestinian authorities. So we document the Palestinian Authority violation to Palestinian children's rights. Also, we work with them in order to meet their obligation under international standards, because the Palestinian Authority as the state party to the main core human rights conventions, mainly the Convention on the Rights of the Child and Convention Against Torture. I'd like to thank Sabil for the opportunity to brief you about the situation facing Palestinian children, especially at this very tense and volatile time in the history of Palestine. Because what's going on, especially in Gaza, it's a war launched against Palestinian civilians, mainly Palestinian children. And this is very evident from the number of Palestinian children who were killed during the last 39 days. So now we are speaking about more than 4,700 Palestinian children who were killed as a result of the Israeli continuous strikes against residential area in Gaza. In addition to more than 1,700 Palestinian children who are still missing, and we assume that almost all of them were killed because some of them are missing under the rubble since 1 month or more. So also the situation in the West Bank, it's volatile also, especially since the 7th of October. For example, during this time period, between the 7th of October until now, we documented the killing of more than 51 Palestinian children, in addition to 40 Palestinian children who were killed during the period between the beginning of this year and the 6th of October. So all in all, in the West Bank, around 91 Palestinian children were killed since the beginning of the year. Just to give you an idea about the violation to the right to life in the occupied Palestinian territories. So between the year 2000 and the 6th of October 2023, DCI documented the killing of 2,290 Palestinian children. During the less than 40 days, we documented more than the double of this number, despite the fact that the violation to the right to life in the occupied Palestinian territories was very high. On average, the number of Palestinian children killed on the hands of the Israeli Authority was 100 every year. But now we are speaking about during the period between the 7th of October and now, more than 140 children every day, which means that the multiplied more than 500 times during this time period. And this is because the war mainly is against Palestinian civilians through targeting the civilian areas, civilian infrastructure, cutting the lines of life to Gaza when Israel is providing Gaza with water, electricity, food, medicine, and all lines of life. Moreover, Israel is targeting the hospitals. Also, they are targeting the medical crew. They are targeting the ambulances. They are targeting the civil defense. Even after bombarding the area, they do not want to give any opportunity for Palestinian civilians and Palestinian children to live. And we see over television the stories and cases of people, how they are struggling in order to stay alive, and how the civil defense crew trying to do their work without having the necessary machines or whatever. So they are digging and taking the rubble by their own hands in an attempt to rescue as much as possible of people who are kept under the rubble. And during this process, people or the Israeli airstrike target those people, and many people were killed while they are trying to rescue others. I believe that this is part and parcel of the Israeli strategy and Israeli military strategy, because and this time it was intensified in a very big way. So before we used to speak about what's so-called Tahya doctrine, and this is a military doctrine used against, the first time it was used in the south neighborhood of Beirut in order to target the areas where people who are supporters to Hezbollah are living, in order to put pressure on them, to pressure the political and military leaders in order to surrender. And before, it was used almost in all Israeli assault against Gaza Strip, but not in this intensive manner. So in the year 2014, this doctrine has been used against civilian areas where the Israeli authorities and Israeli army deliberately target civilian areas in order to put pressure on the civilians. But in this time, almost the whole war, it's against civilians. And the problem that the war started with a big lie and with misinformation and disinformation in order for Israel to get the support. So it started with the misinformation that Palestinians are beheading the babies and raping the women during the military operation in the Gaza envelope on the 7th of October. And Israel tries to show that the whole issue started and ended in the on the 7th of October, despite the fact that we are speaking about more than 75 years of aggression and violation to Palestinian children's rights, Palestinians' rights in general, among them Palestinian children. But so Israel during the past period, they succeeding in getting the support from international community, and right now they are getting the support from the officials and politicians on the international level, but the picture has been changed during the past few days, because people are seeing by their own eyes what's going on in Gaza from the Israeli authorities, the ethnic cleansing processes that Israel is practicing, the genocide that they are trying to make in Gaza. So in order not to speak about, because it's not just a matter of numbers, how many, it's important to remember that we are speaking about human beings, we are speaking about children who has dreams, stories, ambitions that they want to achieve in the future. Just I want to share with you the words of one of the Palestinian mothers. So after her house was bombarded, she left before the bombardment, the mother of a Palestinian child in Gaza left her home in order to go to get a few pieces of tomato for her child in order to feed him, because there was nothing in her home. So she closed the door behind her and went to the neighbor's house in order to get the pieces of tomato. Within a few minutes, she came back to her home. She didn't find the door. She didn't find the home. She didn't find her child. So she rushed to the hospital to search for her child. So she was describing her child for the medical staff. She was saying he is white, his hair is curly, and he is cute. So these are the words of a Palestinian mother who was looking for her only child in one of the Gaza hospitals. So, the problem that she found her child, but he was died as a result of the aerial strike that targeted her home. Yesterday, I was watching the television. So one of the journalists was interviewing a Palestinian child who is just 7 years old in Gaza. So the journalist asked the 7-year-old child, why you are upset? So the response of the child that they bombarded our home. So the journalist informed the child that it's not a problem, we'll build another one. The child added, my dad was killed. So the journalist informed him, you should be proud, he is a martyr. Then he added that my mother also was martyred also on the airstrike. So these are the stories of Palestinian children who passed through this experience through this very challenging and scary time in Gaza. So when we are speaking that in Gaza there is no safe place, this is reflects the reality in Gaza, because people are trying to go from one place to another place in order to seek safety. The Israeli authorities try to evacuate the northern part of Gaza and Gaza City and informing people to move to the southern part of Gaza Strip. During their trip, they exposed to bombardment from the Israeli tanks, exposed also to airstrikes. Many people were killed while they are trying to find a place and a safe place in another period, because they assume that the place where they are is not safe enough. So they moved to another place, and the other place was targeted, and families were killed in such a situation. So this is the problem, that what's going on, it's terrifying and horrific that a child lived for more than 39 days while the sky is raining missiles and rockets, and in every minute his life is on the stake. So people used to ask what's the future of those children and how they may behave in the future, whether they will be angry on the occupation and resist the occupation, or they will be tamed or surrender or something like that. Frankly, I don't know, because the response of people may vary. The people may expose, different people may expose to the same stimuli, but their response could be varied from somebody to another body. But history shows that people everywhere, not just in Palestine, who has rights, they are trying every possible means in order to get their rights. And during the last 20 years or more, Israel believed that they achieved their goal, and they tamed the Palestinian people who are living in Gaza. They give them some intensive, allowing some of them to work on Israel, try to improve the living conditions without giving them their rights. And they showed them the example of Palestinians who are living in the West Bank. But all these things, it doesn't work, because what people want, they want their right to freedom, self-determination, and to practice their life as everybody everywhere in the world. So I don't know how the future of Gaza will be, but what Israel is trying to do is to make ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. And during the first days of the war, there was attempts to kick people out of Gaza Strip. And if they were kicked out of the Gaza, they will not be allowed to come to Gaza again. And right now, more than 11,000 people were killed, but still people are steadfast. They are resisting. If you open the television, even in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, where the Israeli airstrike is very intensive, people say that we have no place to go. This is the only place, and we do not want to repeat the Nakba. Our ancestors left their homelands, and they are living in these camps. So we do not want to repeat this thing again. The problem that before there was the international community was silent against what's going on in the West Bank or in the occupied Palestinian territories in general. But during this period, the international community, especially the main powers, they are supporting Israel with diplomatic support, political support, arming Israel, and providing Israel with all means in order to continue its genocide against Palestinians. So they are complicit in the war crimes that Israel is doing. And we believe that what Israel is doing now, it's because there was no accountability for the previous war crimes and the crimes against humanity that Israel committed in the past. So the international community, mainly the human rights councils, established many committees in order to investigate the crimes committed by Israel during the past period. And all the committees came to the same conclusion, that Israel committed war crimes and the crimes against humanity. But these recommendations or conclusions have not been transformed into actions in order to punish Israel for these acts. And Israel, because it has not been punished in the past, this time they commit these atrocities against Palestinians in Gaza because they believe that they will not be punished in the future. So this is the situation in Gaza Strip, that Israel is using all weapons against Palestinians who are living there. The thirst weapon, the hunger weapon, the preventing them from getting the proper medication, targeting hospitals. And during the last few days, who is watching the news feels that the war now it's against hospitals. They are cordoning Al-Shifa hospital, invaded Al-Rantisi hospitals, almost all hospitals in Gaza Strip out of service because there is no fuel, there is no medicine, there is no food. And when we speak about hospitals, we are speaking about people who were displaced from their homes and their neighborhoods and tried to get refuge in the yards of the hospitals. In Al-Shifa hospitals, there was 39 Palestinian babies in incubators, and their life is totally dependent on the electricity in order to operate the incubators. But despite all the appeals from the doctors, Israel refused to provide them with the electricity or the fuel in order to give an opportunity. And also, they refused to transfer those babies from Al-Shifa to another hospital. This is the situation in Gaza. It's very dire, and the people in the future may not be killed from the airstrikes. They may die as a result of hunger or the lack of water, or the lack of medicine, or the problem that the bodies of Palestinians, they do not have the opportunity to bury the people who were killed as a result of. So illnesses will spread in many places in Gaza as a result of this issue. In the West Bank, the situation is not better than Gaza, despite the fact it's not as tense as in Gaza, but the way by which Israel is treating Palestinians in the West Bank, especially since the 7th of October, has been changed. So when we are speaking about within just 40 days, 51 Palestinian children were killed because Israel changed its open fire regulations, despite the fact that before that the regulations were relaxed, but they relaxed these regulations more and more. According to DCI documentation, it becomes clear for us that almost all Palestinian children who were killed in the West Bank, there was no need to shoot and kill them, because the Israeli soldiers have other means in order to control the situation other than opening fire against Palestinian children. But because there is no, because of the impunity that the Israeli soldiers enjoyed and the lack of the accountability, it's like a green light for them to shoot to kill. One of the children who was killed in the, and now in the West Bank, in addition to using live ammunition, they are using missiles launched from Apache or from weaponized drones. One of the children that we documented his case, he was driving a car, so he approached one of the military checkpoints, and he was speeding, but the Israeli soldiers at the checkpoint captured him, or stopped the car, asked him to get out of the car, to put his hands over his head, and after that they shot and killed him. So he was killed after being apprehended by the Israeli soldier, and this is new development in the way by which the Israeli soldiers are treating Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. The way by which Palestinians or the Israeli soldiers are treating Palestinians in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, it's very harsh comparing with before. Now, for example, in the checkpoints, they try to search the people mobiles to look through the applications that they are using, like Telegram or Facebook or Signal, and if they shared anything related to for example, a destroyed tank in Gaza, or confrontation between Palestinians and the Israelis, or whatever, they expose to harassment and from the Israeli soldiers. In relation to child prisoners, since the beginning of the year, there was a spike in the number of Palestinian children who were placed under administrative detention. And during this period, the rate of placing Palestinian children under administrative detention is more and more. So even as an organization, we do not have the capacity to track all cases. For example, between the beginning of the year until October, we documented 23 Palestinian children who were placed under administrative detention orders, which is a detention without charges, without court proceedings. But during the last month, almost another 20 children were placed under administrative detention orders. And Israel did some modifications to its military orders. For example, now all courts are taking place through video link. So the child can't, or the family, they can't attend the child court session. The child can't see his or her lawyer, because to prepare for proper defense. And also there is no family visits for prisoners inside Israeli prisons, and there are the lawyer visits are very rare. So even the Palestinians do not know about the whereabouts of Palestinian prisoners inside Israeli prisons, because of the lack of communication and because of all these issues. During the arrest campaigns, children and the prisoners exposed to unbelievable physical violence during this process, comparing with before. So now the Israeli soldiers, they are using heavier hand against Palestinians who are living in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem. In short, the violation that we used to speak about in the past, now it's become something unbelievable in relation to the rate and the intensity of these violations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A lot of information and difficult information to deal with. I mean, this year is, even before October 7th and the recent escalations, it has been the most violent year in the past 20 years or so for Palestinians, with record highest numbers of people being killed and arrested. I just want to ask something. Since the ground operation started in Gaza, has there been any documentation of arrests of people, or there are no information?
Would you please repeat?
Since the beginning of the land operation inside Gaza, has there any people being arrested inside Gaza? Is there any information?
The problem that the Israeli authorities, they do not cooperate in providing information about anything related to Gaza. For example, even for workers who were arrested by the Israeli authorities, when organizations and sometimes through Israeli organization like Hamuked, they try to get some information about somebody, they do not cooperate or provide them with any information. So in this relation, could be somebody were arrested, but no information about their whereabouts, where they are incarcerated, there's no information about them.
One more question. People are hoping, or there are some news about prisoner exchange. According to news reports, there are 50 civilians, women and children that have been taken since October 7th inside Gaza, Israelis. And there are a number of over 100 Palestinian children and women in Israeli prisons. There seems to be a number of calls into the civil society that there isn't enough information about the exact number of women and children as of this date inside Israeli prisons. Is there an accurate number?
Usually we get the information from the Israeli prison service. At the end of each quarter, they provide us with how it's like a snapshot, how many Palestinian children are in Israeli prisons. So for us, most importantly, the information that we get from children when we interview them and get an affidavit from them, but the estimates, it's 170. And in relation to this information, I don't think that it will be a problem to continue the prisoner swap because they can get the information from the Red Cross.
And prior to October 7th, you operate in the West Bank and Gaza, or only in the West Bank?
Usually, most of our programs are in the West Bank, but in Gaza, we work in order to document the violations that is taking place in Gaza, and we do our advocacy accordingly. So when we are speaking about documentation and advocacy, it's in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza. But when we are speaking about legal defense, it's just in the West Bank.
So you monitor from three governments, let's say the government in Gaza, the government in the PA, the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah, and the Israeli government. So you calculate that, you document the three geographical areas.
Yes, you are right.
There is a question also in the chat. Is it okay? I mean, is there an update? So Defense of Children International is one of the 7 institutions that have been labeled as problematic or for the Israeli government. Is there any progress or any new information since the accusations were made?
Almost there is no new information, which is a good thing. That after designating the organization, there was our offices, for example, were raided. Our office was raided before designating the organization and as terrorist organization. And the main purpose of this designation is to silence these organizations and prevent them from doing what they are doing. But still, all these organizations are performing their job as usual. But after that, there was nothing against these organizations. But maybe the Israeli authorities, they were expecting that others will carry on the job that they were supposed to continue to defund to this organization through that the banks will not funnel the money to them, the auditing company will not cooperate with them, and something like that. But now it's more difficult for us to do these things, but we can achieve whatever we want to achieve.
And do any of the staff, was it a problem leaving the country because you have to leave through the bridge? There was no. Somebody has asked if it's could you tell us about what are you doing in Brussels? Thinking of advocacy? Is there something advocacy or just only work admin related?
It's related to advocacy, and it was scheduled a few months before, like our meeting today. And we were supposed to speak about the issue of child prisoners, but in this webinar, but because what's going on in Gaza, so it becomes the hot issue. The same thing will be here, and it was scheduled in order to kick off our campaign, No Way to Treat a Child campaign, which is mainly about child prisoners. But amidst this situation, we'll speak about what's going on in Gaza and the genocide that Israel is committing against Palestinians, among them children.
So with the work of advocacy, there's definitely the work of releasing children who are being detained and improving the living conditions of Palestinian children or all children. On the other part is that it's holding the people responsible for the killings and the sufferings of the Palestinian children accountable. What kind of work is being done to hold the people who make the decisions of arresting children or shooting at children or exposing children to violence, to hold them accountable so that people would worry more about taking these decisions?
For example, the problem that if you want to compare between the efforts that we are putting and the outcome that we are getting, the situation of Palestinian children almost have not been improved. But if you ask me about what the achievement that DCI and other organizations who are working on the advocacy level achieved, my answer was that, okay, we didn't improve the situation, but we succeeded in getting it to deteriorate more and more. But after the 7th of October, it seems that we should reconsider the tools that we are using and to reflect on what we achieved so far, because despite all the international pressure and the criticism for Israel in relation to its way in treating Palestinian children, whether prisoners or child who were killed, but Israel during the past period, they tried to cope through doing some cosmetical modification to its military legal system, for example, to show the international community that they are doing their best in order to improve the situation of Palestinian children and all this stuff. But now they don't care about anything. They are committing war crimes against humanity live on TV without caring about the response from the international community. On the contrary, they are accusing Palestinians that they are terrorists, and whenever any Israeli official speak about what's going on in Gaza, he combined between Hamas and Daesh, called Hamas Daesh. And despite the fact that what's going on in Gaza, it's not against Hamas. It's clear that it's against Palestinians who are living there, whether they are children. And this is clear through the number of casualties among children. So, okay, if you want to uproot Hamas from Gaza, while you are preventing to provide the hospitals with the medicine, with the fuel, with the food, with all the necessity to continue its work to provide the healthcare, while you are preventing the flow of food, medicine, water to civilians in Gaza Strip. So it's clear now that they do not care about the consequences of all these things. And if we want to speak about the Israeli leaders, for Netanyahu, it's the last kick for him, because after this war, he will not appear in the political scene. So he will do everything possible against Palestinians.
Mr. Aid, there are plenty of questions, but unfortunately we have run out of time. We dedicate a certain time in the meeting just to do action and advocacy together as a group. But on behalf of Sabil, the Kumi community, and all of the participants, we want to thank you for all of the work that you are doing. We want to thank you for being part of an important organization, Defense of Children International. And we want to thank you for speaking to us. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayed, and I hope I wish you a pleasant stay and fruitful meetings in Brussels. May you open the eyes and the hearts of many people regarding to the just cause of us, the Palestinians. Thank you very much, Dr. Ayed.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Dear friends, now we will move to the time of doing the action. As you know, it's a major part of the Sabil Kumi meetings. It is as if we follow up on the work that we're doing with action. This week, I just want to every week we send out in the newsletter a section that is dedicated to the Kumi action. If you're a new person, we try our best that the actions that we take and we do is pretty simple and doesn't take much time from people. But we believe if we all dedicate a little bit of time, a little bit of energy, marching in the streets, making phone calls, sending emails, doing whatever we're able to do on social media, all of these things are extremely important and they have an impact. There's a beautiful saying that says that even the oceans are only a combinations of small drops of water. And we are all contributing within our own different, with our impact, especially as a community. This week we have an important action, and it says, and this action is we're asking people to show solidarity to the people who are fighting from the belly of the whale, or from the belly of the monster. We Palestinians are blessed to have an elected representative in the US, Rashida Tlaib. Rashida has been vocal, and it's very difficult to speak truth to power. It's extremely costly, and it's almost impossible to always to be completely articulate. But we are blessed with people who are able to speak truth to power. So in the action, we have 3 sections. And the first section, if you are a resident of one of the following districts, and they're listed below, or if you are one of the 20, or your representative was among the 22 Democrats who voted to censor Rashida Tlaib, please put pressure on calling your representative and expressing anger and disappointment towards the way they voted, and continue asking them to support a CeasefireNOW resolution. I remember one of the most shocking things that I've ever read, that after World War I, an activist Mennonite minister made a resolution and said the resolution was as simple that no Christian should kill another Christian after World War I. And the story that I read, that he went from church to church and sadly, he was not able to collect the signatures. They accused him of being very controversial and problematic. Today, it is even asking for a ceasefire and for people to stop killing each other has become a controversial issue. This is very sad. So if you are one of these residents, or you know people who are part of these residents, residents of these 22 districts, please do use your connections and ask them to express their disappointment. But if you're not a resident of the districts, but you know friends or family who are, please forward them the instructions for this action. Regardless if you are a resident of the following districts, you can amplify your voice of Representative Rashida by sharing the images as posts on social media or via email, and they're all located in the chat. You can also share them by sharing the post on your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. So if you use social media, please use one or all of these posts, or just attach them to the emails. You can click on the pictures and click Save As and send them in an email. And if you'd like to thank Rashida Tlaib, if you're not even a part of the US, you're not a citizen of the US, you can write to her, you can mail to her a postcard or a letter, any words of encouragement. If you can write by handwriting, that is even more powerful. But whatever you're able to do, please do. People get hammered when they speak truth to power. They also should feel that there is a group of people who stands with them and appreciates the work that they are doing. So regardless if you are a resident of the districts, you can amplify the voice of Representative Rashida by sharing these images as posts on social media or by email. So we appreciate people making comments on the chat, but please let's focus now on doing the advocacy. We dedicate some time during the meetings to do the advocacy, but please, even if you're able to send multiple emails during this week, as much as you can, call people, ask people to do these actions. All of this is very helpful. Thank you, Ryan. If you are already on Facebook, you can go to the Kumi page and just share from the Facebook account. So on behalf of Sabil and Kumi, we thank you all for being part with us, being part of today's meeting. Thank you so much. Please continue doing all of the amazing advocacy that you are doing, whether it is by prayer, silent prayers, joining the demonstrations, writing to the political leaders. We must try our best to put an end of this war. Just before I came into this meeting, I saw videos of children running to journalists. They have no access to media, no access to news. They're looking for news from the journalists if there's news about a ceasefire. That is just too little to be the dreams of children. News about a ceasefire, of a potential ceasefire. These kids are like 5 or 6 years old. That shouldn't be part of their dictionary. Sadly, it is. It is part of their dictionary, and it is not part of the dictionary of the powerful in the world. We have to make it the language of the powerful also. Appreciate your solidarity, your prayers, and God bless you, and see you next week. Thank you all.